Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Unlock Show. I'm your host, Tracy Wilson. Pleasure to be here with you guys today, even though it is absolutely miserable outside. We are experiencing some pretty terrible weather here on the Gold Coast of Australia and have been doing so for about the last week or so, and I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Now, look, today, I'm not here to talk to you about the weather today, but anyhow, just, as I do, I often will share that little useless piece of information with you unless you're here on the Gold Coast. But anyhow, what I do want to talk to you guys about today is timing, and is timing everything? This morning, as I often do, I go through my podcasts and I have a look and I see, what podcasts actually struck a chord with people. What are the ones that are getting the most amount of downloads? And, what is it that people seem to be interested in? And as I was looking through today, one stood out to me, and it was one that was entitled 6 Weeks to Happiness. And you might be wondering right now, 6 weeks to happiness, and now you're talking about timing is everything. How did that come about? Well, as I was looking and I was realizing that people are really seeking happiness, it made me start thinking about happiness in itself. How did that come about? What did I do? And then it led me down the path of thinking about timing. And it led me to the cliche that you've probably all heard many a time: timing is everything, or being in the right place at the right time. And often we hear that cliche, but we don't always think about, well, what exactly does that mean? And we often will attribute good timing to kind of good luck, and the fact that, that happened, I was in the right place at the right time, everything came together at that moment, and, lucky for me, something good happened. But is that really true? Well, when I look at this concept of timing is everything, and I think about certain those moments in my life that certain things have happened, and it led me down the path of really thinking about this whole concept of timing. We know that there's one thing in life we can't change, right? It's time. We all have the same amount of time in the day. We all have 24 hours, and what we do with that makes a real difference to the way in which your life pans out. And it also got me thinking about, this concept of timing is everything, and how does that play out in every single facet of our life? Like, if I'm thinking about it from a point of view of, hey, I'm wanting to start a new business, then I would be looking at the market, and is now the right time to be starting a new business? Or is it the right time to be leaving my job? Is it the right time to form a new relationship or to take a relationship further? You see timing even in things like, should I be investing? Do I invest right now into cryptocurrency? Should I be buying a new house? Like, timing is in everything that we do, even down to the sports that we play. If you're a golfer, like my husband loves to play golf on the regular, he would talk about, doesn't matter how hard you try and hit that ball, it's all about timing. If your timing's off, then you're probably going to end up in the bushes or in the lake, those sorts of things. So if you don't get the timing right, then you could be in for some pretty rough rough things ahead of you. And even if you think about things like, I'm going to cross the road, you have to time that right. Otherwise, you could be hit by a Mack truck. God forbid, hopefully that never ever happens to you, but these sorts of things could happen. So when you think about that cliche of timing is everything, it really truly is. However, are there some things that you can do to make sure that the timing is right for you? How do you know if the time is right and if you should actually be doing something? And again, as I was contemplating this concept and thinking about it and thinking back to some of the moments in my life where timing really was everything, how much of a difference that timing actually made actually made a difference to the life that has unfolded. And that kind of seeps into every single thing that I've spoken about in relationships and business and my family and sporting, and every single thing that I have ever done in my life. There has been an element of just really good timing. And unfolding all of that got me thinking about, well, what were some of the things that I did to help it be the right time. So I want you guys to think about this today. And often we'll go down the path of, like, for example, you might be wanting to start your own business. And I have students that often do this, right? They're all gung-ho. They want to create their own online business. But for whatever reason, and I often know what the reasons are as we start to work together, they just hit these roadblocks, right? And often it is all to do with the timing of certain things within their life. So let's unfold and unpackage some of that a little bit. So what I'm meaning by this is when I'm thinking about the timing and preparing myself to do something, the first thing we need to do is we need to think about like our mental state. And we want to think about who is it that we actually need to be or become to be able to take advantage of the opportunity and time the situation right. And again, in every single thing that I've spoken about, even down to, something as simple as crossing the road, who do I need to be in order to be able to get across that road safely? So I'm thinking about, maybe not consciously, but these are the things that you are doing most likely in an unconscious state. If it's something that you do on the regular, or if it's something new to you, you may need to bring this to the forefront and do it very consciously until such time as you become, they call, unconsciously competent. Right, so consciously, we're preparing ourselves mentally. Who is it that I need to be? What sort of person do I need to be to actually run my new business? What sort of person do I need to be to enter this new relationship? What sort of person do I need to be really good at golf, for example? All of these things become really important because if you are not stepping into the identity or taking on board who you need to become, then it's going to be very difficult for you to be able to take advantage of the timing at the moment in which it arises. So an example of this again might be, hey, the timing is right. I feel like I should be creating my own new business. However, as I get moving forward, I start to hit roadblocks, and they can be coming at you from all over the place. And often that will be because we haven't mentally prepared ourselves. We haven't started becoming the person that we actually need to be to take advantage of that opportunity. The second thing we would need to think about is physically, is there anything in my physical state that I need to take care of to enable me to move forward and take advantage of the opportunity? I don't know how many times I've heard it. I've even, you guys have most likely heard this. The flip side of the timing is everything, and taking that a step further as being the timing just wasn't right. I tried it, but the time wasn't right. You've heard that over and over and over again. So it may not necessarily be that in that moment when the thing didn't work out wasn't necessarily the timing. It may have been a result of all the things that you did not do to prepare yourself to take advantage of that timing. I want to tell you a little bit of a story, and again, this concept of what I'm talking about today was also stimulated by a business that I had thought about some years ago. So I'm talking, going back 3 or 4 years ago, I had this concept where I was working with my family, and did a whole lot of work on it, gathered all my family together. We started working through the concepts of how we would develop this particular business, spent hours and hours, weekends on weekends, kind of putting all of this together. And it got so far, but it never went any further. Now, thankfully, in this moment, in today, the last sort of 4 to 6 months, I've been resurrecting that project. Why? Because I felt like the timing was right? Because I had actually spent some time mentally preparing myself, physically preparing myself for it, emotionally preparing myself for it, and then getting the environment right to be able to take advantage of the opportunity that had presented itself some years ago. Now, I heard this little saying, and I actually think it came from what's his name? His name is Joe Vitale. So it came from Joe Vitale, and he was talking about that often we get given these opportunities, or ideas will be given to us, right? And not only at that time do we get given the idea, because would be a bit, let's say, arrogant to think that we would be the only person that would come up with a particular idea at a particular time with the billions of people that there are in the world. So it's likely that other people are thinking about that particular idea maybe at the same time as you are, or certainly within the week that you are thinking about it. However, only a certain number of people, and more than likely out of 12, there'll be one person that actually takes that idea and starts to run with it. And one would say that's why the universe gives out those ideas to many people at once, because they know that only a very few of those people that the idea has come into their mind for will actually take action on it. And secondly, that person needs to get all of the things in order to be able to make the thing happen. The other thing I would say, just as a little bit of a side note, is often we think, oh gosh, I'm not the only person that's had that idea. Maybe it's a dumb idea and I shouldn't do it. That little, story that I told you about Joe Vitale sharing that with me, that many people get the idea at once, but very few people actually move forward with it, should be an indication to you that if you've got that idea and you feel so passionate about it, you really should move forward with it, because it's pretty unlikely that anybody is going to, and again, I hear this too, I don't want to share it with people because someone might steal it. Pretty unlikely that somebody's going to do that, because all of the things, including timing for them, has to line up in order for that success to take place. And you may have heard this term, the success of something is actually often related to when it happens or when it takes place. So just back to my little family story. So 2 or 3 years ago, all gung-ho, going to bring this thing to fruition, worked so damn hard on it, and then it all went cold for a while. Until COVID hits, I start thinking about it a little bit more. So the right person comes into my life, so I'm able to collaborate with them, and I'm able to work on it in the right state of mind, because now I've become the person that I need to be to take that idea forward. I'm mentally prepared, emotionally prepared, and I've also created the environment around me in order to support that idea as well as I possibly can. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that, some students of mine they're all gung-ho, they want to create their own online program. And again, for whatever reason, they get hit with these barriers. And often, when you think about, or when I step back and I start looking at, okay, are they mentally prepared? How can I help them with that? Are they physically prepared? Are they emotionally prepared? Have they actually prepared their environment to make sure that all these things can happen? And when you stand back and you think about, hey, there's an opportunity, I am going to take it forward. Is it the right time? And you start putting planting these seeds, and then obviously, tending to them in the sense of you're preparing yourself mentally, physically, the environment, emotionally, spiritually, all of those things. Then all of a sudden you have created the best possible environment for success to take place. I want to tell you a couple of other little stories, because these are, again, as I reflect back on my life and I think about, when were the times where I've gone, man, and I've said this, that was lucky. I was lucky at that moment to have had that opportunity present itself to me. Or it may have even been in a relationship. And maybe you can start thinking about these things and going, that maybe it was a relationship, didn't work, or that thing that I was trying to create, it didn't work. Why was it? Did you have all of your house in order? Did you start becoming the person that you needed to become in order for the thing that you were trying to create to unfold? So I want you to firstly think about those moments where maybe the timing was off, it just wasn't right. Did you tend to all of these things? And then think about all of the times in your life where you've even said, that was luck. Sometimes we get lucky, but in most cases, when you're creating things in your life, it's not luck. You have somehow created the right environment to be in the right place at the right time, and everything just comes together. And often we know this because things start to get easy. They're not difficult. You get in a flow state. You're enjoying what you're doing. You become happy in your life because things are just falling into place and coming together. All of your ducks are lining up. They're all in a row. So all of these things that start happening to us are usually because we start to make conscious or unconscious decisions and start lining our ducks in a row in terms of the mental, the physical, the emotional, the environmental, the spiritual. All of those things start to be in alignment. So like I said, I want you to think about maybe some of those moments where things didn't go your way. What was it that you hadn't tended to? And then what are some of the things that you've done where things have gone super well? And it's just been like, oh my God, I can't believe that just happened. That's happened, and that's happened, and that's happened, and that's happened. And you've ended up being in the right place. So a few years back, I happened to be in a room. I decided that that I was going to invest in my own personal development, and it was a lot of money. A number of years ago when I was just starting out in business, and it was like $20,000, required me to travel overseas, and I was like, oh, this is going to hurt. This is going to be a fair bit of money that I have to cough up and just invest in myself, because I knew that I had to take a leap forward and start becoming somebody whom I needed to be to have the success that I wanted in my life. So anyway, at that time, I jumped on a plane. At this time, I hadn't really traveled anywhere. The first time I took my husband with me because I was actually frightened to travel on my own to overseas to a new place without really knowing where the heck I was going. Second time around, I got a little bit more confident and could go on my own. So the second time, off I go. I'm on my own, and I can remember paid this money to go to this conference. I remember the mentor standing up on the stage and talking about the fact that when you make decisions like this, it puts you in rooms. I'm talking about the right place now, puts you in rooms with the right kind of people. And he said, more than likely, you'll be sitting in this room today, and somebody in this room is going to end up being your business partner in the future. And so that really started making me think. And at the time, I already had another business partner and I had business going on. But it makes you start thinking about, what else is possible and what other people could be brought into your life that could start to make a real difference. So all of a sudden, my mindset is starting to open up to think about these things. And again, like I said, I'm starting to invest in what I needed to start becoming the person that I needed to be to have the level of success that I experienced today. Because back then in the early days, I wasn't getting that. And it was all because I wasn't being the person that I needed to be and doing some of the things that I'm talking about today. So fast forward a little bit of time. I then get a phone call one day from what was actually a message through Facebook that says, hey, I've got a brand new show and I would love to have you as a guest on my show. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Okay, I could do that. I could go and be a guest on somebody else's podcast and show, and I can talk about, she was wanting to talk to me about my life and success and what have you. So off I went, had that conversation. And as I turned up, I can remember having to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to be on this particular person's podcast and show. And normally, again, timing, you'd be like, that is just a crap time. Who wants to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning to be on a podcast? Not many, right? You're not like going out there trying to find podcasts at the middle of the night when your family's all asleep and your eyes are hanging out. But anyway, at this time I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. So got up, came on down to my office, turned some lights on that was absolutely pitch black behind, and I had this chat with this person. Little did I know that this person, before they got on the call with me, actually said to their partner, oh my God, I'm getting to talk with Tracy today. They were super excited. And even to the point where she said she was dancing around the room, couldn't wait to have this conversation. Not really sure why. not really knowing why she was excited about having this conversation. But anyway, got on the podcast. We had a good old chat. One thing led to another. Next thing we know, we are talking even further about, hey, should we write a book? Because we've just had a great conversation and we think that what we just spoke about deserves to be written, deserves to be taken and put into some form of some written format. And it just so happened that that particular person happened to have been in that exact room that I was in when I made the decision to invest in myself and go all the way to America. She was in that room. Secondly, I did not know that that person was a multi-award winning, respected author. Did not know that. Did not know that my decision to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning with my eyes hanging out and my pajama pants still on, but my top half looking good, to jump on a show or a podcast with her would actually turn out to be one of the best decisions. And you could say timing is everything. But if you think about that concept, that whole unfolding of events, it most definitely was mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, environmentally, all of those things. I had actually not really knowingly, not knowing that these were the things that would unfold, but knowingly putting all of those things together to allow the opportunity to present itself. And lucky for me, 2.5 years on, still in a business partnership with that person, the amazing Vicky Helm and her wife, Robin Helm. So blessed to have them. I've spoken about them often on my shows, but it just goes to show how timing really is everything. And I want you to think about this in two ways. Sometimes when the timing, you say things like the timing just isn't right or it didn't work out, doesn't necessarily mean that what you were trying to create at that time is not going to work. It most likely is going to work. You were given that idea and that concept for a reason, and you thought it was a great idea at that time and you were passionate about it. You just need to go back and have a look and just think about, did I do everything I could to actually create my environment of success to allow that timing to become the perfect time? So that being said, guys, I want to love you and leave you guys today. Timing is everything. It's now time for me to go and grab some morning tea and catch up with somebody before I jump in and start doing a launch for the brand new product that I was actually telling you about. I've actually been in the process of doing a bit of early trying to get some early indications from people as to what they think of the product that's been created, and all of the feedback has been coming back really, really positive. So I'm super excited about that, and maybe I'll share it with you guys a little bit later in another podcast and episode. But I can honestly say that every single thing that I think about that has gone particularly well in my life, I've looked back and I've thought, was I mentally prepared? Was I physically prepared? Was I emotionally prepared? Was my environment right? Was I spiritually prepared for all of that? And if I said yes, yes, yes to all of those things, then everything seemed to fall into place, and the timing, like I said, was just perfect. So that being said, guys, go and unlock yourself. Go and make the timing perfect in every situation that you want to have happen. And have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you guys back again next Wednesday. Another amazing guest on the Unlock Show next Wednesday, 10 a.m. And I'll be back to share something else, I don't know, a little bit different with you next Friday. Have a fantastic week, everybody. And I'll see you guys again next week. Bye for now.